Alright, so we do have one new anime this week. That would be the Berserk Blu-ray I mentioned. So this is Berserk, the 1990 series. I think it was 1990. Brain remembers it as 1990. And I thought it said somewhere, maybe it says on the side here, the 1997 TV series. What can we say about it? Region A, English dub, Japanese with English subtitles. And it was pretty entertaining. I can't really say what it'd be like for people who might be a fan of Berserk and may have seen more recent stuff. So that's an invertible cover. Very nice. We've got 2 Blu-ray discs. Should be 20-something episodes, 2-core. Yeah. So, fortunately this arrived. We'll have a little bit more in the update here, because my friend also gave me early birthday presents. So, he gave me some tabletop games. This is Qwirkle, and it's basically kind of like Scrabble, except with shapes and colors. So, for example, you match up to 6 of the different shapes, or 6 of the different colors. I don't know, very Scrabble-like. Let's see, we've got that Escalated Quickly. This was probably, of the things we tried out, the most fun. Not that we tried everything, but quite entertaining. I guess the idea is it's a cooperative game where people are trying to figure out everybody's numbers relative to each other, and whoever's in charge, chooses the lowest. And the thing, everybody gets their numbers is dealt to them randomly out of the deck, and the thing that drives how you play, I guess, would be the person whose turn it is. They read a card that says, here's a scenario, and you'd come up with an answer that suggests what you feel your number would be for that. And an example that I kept going to is like, your broom is broken, and you get a replacement. But what is that replacement, with 1 being least likely to get other witches to make fun of you, and 10 being most likely? Fun things like that. We didn't play Cat in the Box. It's cute looking. I do remember Bezier Games advertising it at some point, but I don't know much about it. Pretty cute. Let's see. Then we have 2 books by the Randall Munroe, What If and What If 2, which are, he's the author of XKCD. Interesting. And then he got me some Magic the Gathering cards, some big black beasts, of course. Now, I already have Lord of the Void, so I think this one was maybe an alternative art, maybe a different release. Let's see, this one was Witch King of Angmar, so this is from the Lord of the Rings set, and I forgot what he does, but it's a kind of big creature that also gives the ability to discard other cards if you need to, which is good in a regenerator deck. And then last but not least, we have Souls of the Lost, which is something that can grow big if needed. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much all my stuff. Here's this week's Physical Anime Collection update. Alright, so I'm not quite sure. No. I don't know why I was blanking on what we would start with. We're obviously starting talking about the anime I've watched, and a lot of new stuff. Some things have finally shown the first episode, some have finally shown their 3rd episode. Unnamed Memory, episode 1. It was an interesting setup. Not necessarily something I would say, oh yes, this would grab everybody's attention, but there was something about it that was just neat. The main character, the main guy, is neat. A little curious about the witch. We'll kind of see how it goes. It's a little bit more relationshipy, but I like the relationship idea with the spin on the medieval fantasy sort of setting, so
see how it goes. Konosuba, Season 3. So the first thing I had to remember was that, oh yeah, there was a movie, wasn't there? Not that the movie was bad, but I don't know. I think, as I mentioned then, the movie... something about it left me not quite feeling that, and I think it was just Konosuba is so much better paced as a series. You know, it was a fine movie, but this one begins where that movie left off, and you know, it's quite amusing, quite entertaining, the stuff that it's doing. And episode 1 isn't supposed to be like too directly into what this series is about, or what this season is about, rather. It's definitely about you know, kind of reintroducing to our characters, give us some more comedic moments. I'd say they felt pretty successful and fun. And then kind of set up, oh yes, and here's what this season's going to be about. Not that we can maybe tell in the long run what it is, but it's off to a decent enough start, I would say. Mysterious Disappearances, episode 1. Surprisingly interesting first episode. I'm not sure what to think of this series as a whole. You know, for people in the mystery genre, it's probably exactly what you might want, I guess, you know. But it felt very refreshing. Like, our cast of characters is strange. The main girl... Well, it's definitely unusual to get somebody that just doesn't feel like an immature twat or something like that. Which is a really bad way to say it, but you know, sometimes they're like, you know, she has her problems, but I kind of appreciate the fact that she feels relatively mature, I guess, which is a weird way to say it. But you know, she's definitely kind of a, oh wow, there's something very homely about her. It's like, yeah, Anyways, content-wise, you know, not just talking about the way characters look, it's hard to tell what to make of this show. I definitely want to see what's going to happen after this, to kind of see what kind of show it's establishing itself as being. You know, it feels like one where it's like, okay, mystery after mystery for some reason, and it's probably going to be perfectly decent about that, but I don't know. What's our character's relationship to the other guy? The other guy seems a little, you know, otherworldly, kind of interesting. So, you know, lots of things tickling my fancy about it. Nice first episode. Archdemon's Dilemma: How to Love Your Elf Bride, episode 3. What happened in this episode? Yeah, I guess some interesting things. I'm definitely curious to see where it's planning to go from here. I think I'll continue watching this one. I guess it's successfully being cute and adorable in certain ways. I'm trying to think how else to describe it. But I'm trying to remember the specific thing that happened at the end of the episode. I do remember some of the stuff that happened in there. It's like, okay, yeah, this is why this isn't... Oh, it's just a relationship show, except it happens to be medieval fantasy times. You know, it's incorporating those elements into it pretty well. And the characters' stories and interactions are being pretty good. Like, our main character, he kind of had some fairly cringy dialogue at the very beginning, but in a way that wasn't super bad, just in ways that was I don't know, I guess you felt his newness to it. It's like, you can do better, right? And he is doing better. He's trying harder. It's not keeping him stuck in some immature place. So it's pleasant, and it's not keeping her in some, oh, this is the rules we've established for what she does place. It's been nice. Let's see. A Salad Bowl of Eccentrics, episode 2. I guess kind of fun. Definitely a show that's like, if there's any problem with it, it's that I'm not quite sure what it's doing to grab my attention to keep me interested. It's done little things here and there. Kind of like, I guess some of it's kind of easygoing nature. We'll have to see if there's more to it. It's very possible. we'll watch more. Delicious in Dungeon, episode 15. Okay, I'm trying to remember. Show continuing to be good. It's getting back into the groove of, okay, now we have to have excuses for them to have things to cook, interesting things to cook. Oh, interesting. I'm not sure if they were called dryads, but they were definitely dryads. And it wasn't the only anime that had dryads this week. So, I don't know. Anyways, entertaining stuff. The Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Season 3, Episode 50. Okay enough. I think the real problem is it's still kind of dealing with the events that happened at the end of the previous season, I guess. And so we haven't seen stuff that's just like, oh, it feels like it's resuming speed. It's more like it's just like, it feels like it's catching us, the audience, up a bit on stuff. Oh, just a bit. It's a bit setting stuff up too, but, you know, kind of waiting for the season to get neat. It did reveal some interesting facts, things that I would not have expected, but we'll have to see more. Train to the End of the World, Episode 2. I still don't know what to make of this show. It's very... I'm trying to remember all the stuff that happened in this episode. It's very whimsical, but also somber, which feels like a contradiction, and there could be some weakness in the show in terms of it not giving a consistent, I guess, energy for what you might want to see while watching it, but seems good enough. I'll continue watching it to see what I continue to think about it, especially since they've kind of established a little bit more what traveling might mean to us, the watchers, watching this. God's Game We Play, Episode 2. Thought it was an entertaining enough episode. Not really bad. Not really great, I would say, but it's definitely just good, simple. If you're into this kind of game, then sorry, streamer friend did not make the right play there, but oh well. God's Game We Play. You know, I think if you know the genre, it was just entertaining enough, I'd say. Kind of refreshing in ideas it's playing with, and good enough. You know, other people may find it really great who are really into that sort of stuff, and that would just be, you know, it maybe not being my thing, but still, I'm going to put definitely another episode in for sure. Probably more. Dub also makes it really easy to watch while doing other things, so yeah, we'll just have to see. The Misfit of Demon King Academy, Season 2, Episode 13. I guess okay enough stuff. Some really confusing things thrown at us again, which is, it feels very common for Misfit of Demon King Academy, kind of exploring some of its world and world rules. Now, they don't quite feel very perfect, I guess. But very complicated, I guess. Like, maybe they're saying something that's really good. I don't know. It's just blah, blah, blah. We'll have to see how Season 2 continues. Let me see. Studio Apartment, Good Lighting, Angel Included, Episode 3. If there's anything about this that was really nice, it's that it finally it showed a little bit more of what it's planning to do overall. And I'd say where it ended in the end of this episode is this could be interesting sort of moment. Probably a good way for them to end Episode 3. But, you know, definitely one of those shows where this one has some risk of me dropping it just because, I guess it's the kind of genre that I've seen plenty of, and it's not one that's necessarily, this is the genre I have to watch. So in that regard, we'll have to see, but I'd say Episode 3 gave it a little bit more hope than Episodes 1 and 2 in terms of maybe this show does have something slightly different for the person that's used to this kind of show. I don't think it's enough for anybody that's like, I don't like rom-com to go and watch it, but, you know, just giving it a little bit of kudos. I'm still catching up on the regular at Magic High School, so I've rewatched season 2, and I watched, okay, my notes here said I watched episode 6 through 10, but it's actually 6 through 11, because with episode 11, I'm like, wait a second, this material it's covering right now, I thought that was the movie. But this seems to be the end of season 2, which means I never watched the movie. So I've got a lot more catching up to do on regular at Magic High. So 2 more episodes, and I've definitely rewatched season 2 and remember it a lot better. But then I'm going to need to rewatch. Sorry, I don't think I've ever watched the movie. I'll just have to watch the movie for the first time, and then I can start seeing season 3 stuff, which is airing now. Which means, just guessing, I probably will not be reporting season 3 stuff next week either. Kaiju number 8, episode 1. I actually thought this was a really great first episode. With the caveat being, I'm not sure what I think about the effectiveness of the very end of the first episode in terms of just evaluating it. Like, this was almost an episode where you could just tell from the first episode that you would really like this series. But the problem is, you know, the kind of twist it has to the story it's telling, that happened at the very end of the first episode, which means it's not episode 2 until we kind of get a good feel of, this is what show it maybe is going to be, and episode 3 might be this solid, okay, here's our 3 episode judgment. In other words, it's a great first episode, but it also feels like I would have to say that it needs a little bit, I guess. I guess if I were to try and talk about it a bit more about just what happened in the first episode more directly, our main character and his interaction with this other character that they introduced, it's kind of a nice setup. And if they didn't introduce the twist, if instead this first episode was all about how maybe he's going to try again for the Defense Force, it actually could have been really good. And I think it's very possible it may still be really good with the twist it had. It's just, now we're going to have to see what it's planning to do. So, good first episode. I'm actually a little sad we didn't have episode 2. Not because of binge watching, because, you know, like some shows would probably be good if you binge watch them. I think Solo Leveling is probably a good example of that. But again, you know, it really could have just used like I'm ready to see episode 2 already. I've got to wait till Saturday. Then there's the Newgate, episode 1. I thought it was actually off to an interesting enough start. There's something a little off about it, but I don't feel it. I just know that it's like, I'm not sure if this is natural dialogue, but it doesn't off-put me as much. It's definitely a strange show. It's deliberately a mix of definitely Sword Art Online, and I was tempted to say Overlord, but really it leans more in the Leedale line, if y'all aren't familiar with that. Basically, Overlord and Leedale both have to do with our main character waking up in the Memorphiger that they were in, and it's real. With Leedale very blatantly saying, oh yes, and this is like hundreds of years later, or something like that, and Overlord hasn't explained anything like that. That's always like our guess, but what even is it? But Newgate is like, yeah, it says it's taking place hundreds of years after the ends of something that was like a Sword Art Online, basically. Fine enough. His interaction with that one character was kind of nice. I'm trying to think, for a first episode, it felt like there could have been more of something, but it's good enough. Let's see, I should scroll down so I can see the remaining things. Let me see. As a reincarnated aristocrat, I'll use my appraisal skill to rise in the world, episode 2. It's okay. I'd say episode 1 is a much better standalone, but episode 2 is a good follow-up into episode 3. We'll just have to see if episode 3 says, yeah, I feel like where this show is going to go is going to be nice. Because otherwise, what that blue-haired girl was saying is kind of a dickish thing. And some of that may be kind of intentional standoffishness. But, yeah, I don't know. We'll get to see more of her in the next episode because, you know, this episode ended in a thing where it's like, okay, yeah, that's not resolved. Fair enough. Jobless Reincarnation, Season 2, Episode 14. I guess a little more action than I would have thought, but really not that much. But it is definitely interesting. The main problem being that I guess we didn't get too much commentary on it, I guess. Because it's mostly a wedding reception episode. And, you know, it was actually nice and pleasant in that regard. Very... Oh, no. I wasn't expecting any kind of action, but given the character interactions that were there, it was just kind of nice. But... again, the one action scene that happened in it was nice. It just, I think, needed, I don't know. I guess something... And when I say commentary, it's tricky because I'm not exactly trying to say that the characters in the show should have commented, but rather it would have been something where we, the people watching it, could comment on it a bit more. As it is, it sort of felt like it just happened. It was well animated, for sure, and well choreographed and neat. But maybe I'm just being a little greedy, I guess. Tsukimichi, Moonlit Fantasy, Season 2, Episode 15. Entertaining enough stuff. I guess it's set up some interesting stuff with our main character, but we're not seeing a lot of his action stuff. But I do believe, if there's one thing this season has been doing a lot of, it's been setting a lot of stuff up. It does feel like that one thing is about to do something, and other stuff that they've been doing is about to set up something else, which may be about to result in interesting conflict, but I don't know if it'll be long last. It's hard to say because it feels like it's also giving itself ways out, so we'll have to see. But, you know, it's kind of pleasant. It's not as spectacular as the first season, but nice to feel it keep going, just kind of also feeling like, well, I want some sort of crescendo. Hopefully it's going to provide a really great crescendo. Hard to tell. Let's see. I've gone ahead since I watched 3 episodes of The Banished Former Hero Lives As He Pleases, and I don't feel like firing up episode 4, so I think I'm going to go ahead and drop that one off the list. If anybody's watching and says, oh, you should watch episode 4, it suddenly gets good again, it's worthwhile. I did give it my 3-episode attempt, but it'd be nice to, you know, start this video processing here Monday night and also get a chance to relax or something like that. I was reincarnated as the 7th Prince, so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability. Episode 3. Fun episode. Our prince is continuing to show an entertaining, I don't know, sociopathic side. Not directed at people, but directed at, oh god, when he gets focused on magic, everybody's doomed. Let's see. They established that sort of stuff. It did some fun stuff. He did some fun stuff. And it looked like episode 4 was set up for more fun stuff. And so, while I don't know that there's a goal for the show, it does feel like that it's continuing to do fun stuff. Each episode continues to just be fun. If you like that energy from the first episode, I can't help but feel like maybe you would like the energy of the rest of the series. So that might make it a good 1 episode. Let alone 3 episodes. And then we have the other show with the Dryad. That's Remonster, episode 3, which was a very strange episode. Like, if episode 3 is supposed to be one where the show's solidifying itself, this one's like, why did it decide to be the sex episode? Which, it wasn't that bad. It's just, you know, it introduced a Dryad. It introduced a couple of other characters, some other stuff, some good interaction between our main character and humans. And the reason humans is important is because I don't think it's going to be having them interact with more goblins. And so that outreach and interaction with other sentient races thing is kind of a good utility that shows like this can use, and I think it's doing an okay enough job to do those to keep it interesting enough. But it's also just weird because this is the one where it's like, oh well, all those people who clearly wanted to bone him, well, they pushed on it, and it's like I don't know how to entirely feel about it, but at the same time, it doesn't necessarily feel wrong. In fact, if anything, it feels less wrong than what it was kind of insinuating closer to the beginning of the series, and my worry that it's like, okay, well, he's bringing his morality to these goblins, but is he condemning them to die out? Like, if the goblins don't live long enough and they kind of die of old age or something and don't have any replacement offspring or anything, is he condemning them to death? And, you know, sometimes we can be really weird with that. I feel like it's dancing in a pretty delicate place where it's like it feels fine with what it's doing, but just a little weird. So it's a strange third episode, but you know, entertaining enough. What was the? I don't remember any hints about what the fourth episode or what the stinger of it was, but entertaining enough. Spice and Wolf, Merchant Meets the Wise Wolf, episode 3. You know, it's continuing to be an entertaining series. It's continuing to be entertaining to rewatch. Holo interact with Kraft? Lawrence? Which one? Lawrence. Holo interacting with Lawrence. I get the impression it's probably following the beats pretty similarly to the first season, or the first version of it. This one is just updated graphics, I guess. And I think it's worth rewatching. It's been entertaining. And then finally we have Chillin' in Another World with Level 2 Super Cheat Powers, episode 2. Which, I think... Did I mention? I should have mentioned last week, yeah. It was an interesting, subtle twist on the main premise, and entertainingly enough done. This one, I guess, is establishing some stuff that's just really strange. Like... Yeah, that's strange. It doesn't feel like it's completely keeping within, okay, I believe this is a world where these characters are actually living in it. It does feel a bit of a, you know, yeah, these are characters that are kind of fulfilling their archetype and doing things, interesting things, but they do feel a little going through the motions, but it's been entertaining so far. We'll have to see what episode 3 brings. Because, you know, I don't think it's giving a strong enough impression at this one. So there we go. That's all the stuff I watched. Let me see. So I guess if there's any reason why maybe I didn't finish Irregular at Magic High Season 2, it's because with my... with two of my brothers, you know, the friend and family over there, we played a little more Lethal Company this week than maybe we normally do, 2 days in a row. And then we also played a little over the weekend. Fun stuff. We did a lot of trips to a moon that is not officially documented, but is officially in the game, but is definitely incredibly profitable. But the main problem is there's a new entity that was introduced into the game in the V50 patches. The fourth one introduced this entity, and then there was a fifth one, and then V50 came out for real. And, you know, I'm trying not to spoil this stuff in case you don't know, but this entity is one where it's we just haven't gotten lucky to have them see it and experience it. And I'm hoping we get to the next time we play. Maybe that's tomorrow, maybe that's not, you know. I'm hoping that we get our chances. But if anybody else is as exhausted as I am, I'm not going to blame them for not going for it. Hopefully this coming Friday, though, I will try the new Contra game that got released on Steam. The one that's highly inspired by the older classic Contra games. Not sure if I'll have much to say about it, but, you know, we'll see what happens. Beyond that, so next week I'm not expecting any anime to arrive, and I'm not expecting any early birthday presents, so I'm probably not going to show any of that stuff. Some of y'all were mentioning the cooking stuff, and part of the reason I didn't just immediately say, oh yes, I'm going to do cooking, is because I haven't really been doing that much cooking. Like, maybe I can look for something that I would normally cook for Thanksgiving, for example. That would be a really impressive thing. I've never done the whole Thanksgiving, because every time I start recording bits and pieces of it, eventually I reach the point where I'm just doing too much to get everything prepared. You know, Thanksgiving, if you're cooking all the main dishes, or only the main dishes, or whatever, maybe the core dishes, you know, that requires some good coordination, timing, and preparation. And it's kind of hard to capture all of that on camera really well. Which means that I'm most likely going to aim for the only thing I really cook, which is not going to be very exciting. It's going to be hard-boiled eggs and sandwiches. With some of the idea put forth being, I don't know, I guess, I mean, the good news is I at least cook that much, even if that's not really much. That's not much in the way of cooking. But, you know, I'll probably put together a video that shows, hey, here's me hard-boiling eggs to eat for breakfast throughout the week, and here's me preparing sandwiches, and maybe I can put little thoughts in there. Because other than that, I'm not quite sure. Maybe I would have to find some sort of opportunity to cook something major. But, you know, the only real... I do throw stuff in the oven. These are pre-made meals from HEB. And, like, I do tweak the steak dinner a little bit. I just add a shit ton of cheese. So it's a thing. But I don't know. I don't know. But I guess that's what I'll do. So probably I'll record the hard-boiled eggs later this week, and then the sandwiches. And I won't call the video that. I'll call it the cooking for the week, and I'll probably talk briefly about some of the other things I've tried in the past. I'm not sure that it would necessarily be something that you learn the most about, but I don't know. So, I'll give that a shot for next week, and then the week after that, I don't know, but I'll play it by ear. Anyways, it's been a lot, but yeah, that's all the update. Y'all, have a nice week.